Hello, this is case study 13, and our topic is prevalence and correlates of PTSD and maladaptive behaviors among Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom U.S. veterans. In this presentation, we'll provide a brief introduction to the topic, state our specific aims, identify our study hypotheses, illustrate the significance and innovation of this study, show our methods, and state our plan for data analysis.
Introduction.
It is well documented that veterans face difficulties in seeking employment and reinsertion into civilian and family life. Post-war veterans experiencing PTSD suffer from both physical and psychological harm. Therefore, our investigation will estimate the prevalence of PTSD among veterans and potentially related health issues such as alcohol dependence, opioid prescription abuse, and intimate partner violence.
Specific aims and hypotheses.
Our first aim is to assess the prevalence of PTSD and establish the socio-demographic correlates. The hypothesis associated with this aim is that U.S. post-war veterans that are males are more likely to develop PTSD symptoms than their female counterparts. Also, ethnic minority veterans are more likely to experience PTSD symptoms than their white counterparts. Our second study aim is to assess the association between PTSD and substance use. The hypothesis associated with this is U.S. post-war male veterans clinically diagnosed with PTSD are more likely to engage in prolonged behavior of alcohol dependence, opioid prescription abuse, and intimate partner violence compared to their female counterparts. The third study aim is to assess the association between PTSD and intimate partner violence. The hypothesis is that U.S. post-war male veterans clinically diagnosed with PTSD and experiencing higher levels of anger as the mediating variable are more likely to engage in intimate partner violence compared to their female counterparts.
Significance.
This study is important for various reasons. Recent studies have shown PTSD occurring in veterans at prevalence rates ranging from 11 to 22% compared to the lifetime prevalence of 6.8% among adult Americans. Also, PTSD not only affects the veterans, it affects their loved ones, as it instigates a whole slew of issues including marital disputes, parenting problems, and poor family functioning. Therefore, it is morally imperative that we address this health issue by pursuing epidemiological research that identifies individuals affected by PTSD and work towards developing recommendations for preventative efforts. With respect to PTSD and maladaptive behaviors, there's a general consensus among researchers that PTSD has a more influential role to play in increasing the risk of smoking. There is a strong association between veterans living with PTSD and substance use disorders, especially cigarette smoking. Studies have also shown that there's an association between PTSD and opioid use. Hazardous drinking is also one of the observed problematic behaviors stemming from PTSD among veterans. Evidence has consistently shown that veterans with PTSD are more likely to be perpetrators of severe intimate partner violence.
Innovation.
Our study is innovative in several ways. Previous studies have shown varying prevalence estimates of OEF and OIF veterans ranging from 10 to 18%. This variance in estimates stem from assessment methods employed in these studies to ascertain PTSD diagnosis through brief screening assessments. Therefore, our study will employ 3 data sources to capture more valid results compared to assessment based on 1 data source. Also, these studies in this area use convenient sampling, which hampers generalizability. Our proposed study will employ a probability-based sampling, which will enhance the external validity of our study results. Furthermore, other studies have indicated limitations in terms of missing data from a sole source. Therefore, our study will conduct a telephone survey to capture data that are often missed on the PDHA. Also, most studies have been conducted in clinical settings with the perspective of clinical significance. To address this, our study will incorporate the Medical Outcomes Study Short Form 36 to enhance the validity of the underlying assumption that all cases need care and attention.
Methods.
To address our specific aims and test our hypotheses, we propose a cross-sectional study design. While there are some limitations to the study design, we still believe that its strengths outweigh its weaknesses. To be eligible for our study, U.S. veterans must be registered in the following databases: institutionalized veterans, homeless veterans, and veterans residing outside the U.S. will be excluded. Study participants must have also completed the following assessments upon return from deployment. Our data sources include the following: the PDHA, our telephone survey, the PTSD checklist military version, the Alcohol Use Disorders Identification Test, and the Medical Outcomes Study Short Form 36 Health Survey. In terms of measures in psychometrics, the PCL has demonstrated excellent psychometric properties for PTSD diagnosis in various populations. In a previous study, the internal consistency of the PCL-M was high. The SF-36 scales have also shown good internal consistency. There are no psychometric properties currently for the PDHA and the survey we're adapting for our telephone survey. Therefore, we're proposing a validation study to assess how these measures perform in capturing concepts pertinent to this study. For our sampling strategy, we will employ random digit dialing to identify participants for our telephone survey. Below is the sampling calculation showing that we need at least a sample of 1,649 veterans to estimate the prevalence of PTSD. To achieve study aims 2 and 3, we'll create a weighted sample of males and females by oversampling females to accommodate the low proportion they currently represent in the veteran population. We'll need at least 1,649 females in our total sample population for it to be representative of the overall veteran population. Therefore, our total sample size is approximately 14,216 veterans in order to achieve all three aims. Other studies in veteran populations have shown relatively low response rates. Therefore, we'll employ the following strategies to achieve a higher response rate in our study. According to the DSM-4, here are the screening indicators for PTSD. Here are two examples of how a PTSD diagnosis is operationalized in our measures. For the PCL, PTSD diagnosis is based on a minimum symptom rating of 3. An alternative would be to use the suggested cutoff score of 50 as a PTSD diagnosis. On the PDHA, positive response to any 2 of the 4 questions will be considered at risk for PTSD.
Plan for data analysis.
To achieve study aim 1, we'll use Sudan to estimate the standard errors for all prevalence estimates. For trend analyses, we'll use the t-test for independent samples. In all our analyses, we will adjust the significance level to p is less than 0.01. To test our hypotheses for study aims 2 and 3, we will conduct multiple logistic regression analyses. For these statistical analyses, significance level will be based on p is less than 0.05.
Thank you.